Newspapers have come a long way since they were first started. In our vidcast, The Evolution of the American Newspaper, we're going to talk to you about the timeline of newspapers in the United States, starting with Ben Franklin's Pennsylvania Gazette, all the way up to today's smartphone news apps.
The first newspaper in the United States was Benjamin Harris's Public Occurrences, both foreign and domestic. The second, more powerful newspaper in the United States was edited by Benjamin Franklin. Franklin's paper, the Pennsylvania Gazette, was widely popular. However, the paper was somewhat manipulated. Not only did Franklin serve as the newspaper's editor, but he would consistently write letters to the editor and often contribute articles under false personas, using pseudonyms such as Silence Dogood, Harry Meanwell, or Alice Atherton. Franklin used these pseudonyms to express ideas that were slanderous, illegal, or what he did not wish to be tied to. Alice Atherton's scandalous stories, for example, were about members of high society. Regardless, his paper remained ever popular and it still exists today.
The next step in the evolution of newspapers was the advent of the daily newspaper, which came about in the mid-1780s. This adaptation to news came as a direct result of the early Americans' growing need for more rapid news. Political change was happening every day, and people needed to remain informed at an equally fast rate. Publications which were only released on a weekly basis were no longer satisfying to consumers' needs.
After the early newspapers, the next major change in the evolution of news in America was a steam press, invented in 1843 by Richard Hoe. The new technology of a steam-powered rotary press allowed editors to mass-produce their newspapers at a rate of 480 pages per hour, and let editors to nickname it the Lightning Press. The press took a roll of paper 5 miles long and ran it out at a rate of 800 feet per minute. For the first time, news media was truly mass-produced, which revolutionized the industry for journalists wishing to reach the masses.
Along with the steam press came penny press papers, which were the tabloids of the mid-19th century. Because they were so cheap to produce, these papers only cost a cent, a sharp reduction from the average cost of 6 to 10 cents per paper, which made reading the news more practical for middle class. However, penny presses were often filled with the same sensational nonsense as today's tabloids.
One of the most outrageous stories ever printed in the penny press papers was published by the New York Sun, detailing a British astronomer's sightings through his new type of telescope, which had allowed him to see unicorns, goats, pelicans, and humanoid bats roaming about the moon. Today, printed news is evolving from paper to digital. Newspaper dispensaries, which once lined sidewalks outside malls and restaurants, are few and far between, and the paperboy's route is all but a thing of nostalgia. Because of the need for instant gratification and immediate reporting, newspapers are nearly obsolete, with true news junkies favoring smartphone apps and news websites which can be updated instantly. News in the United States today is almost entirely democratized. Anyone with access to the internet may contribute their thoughts. Whereas historically news reporting was controlled by the industry, social media has given average citizens a venue to voice their opinions to the masses.
This has created a new information food chain. News is disseminated by another network, promoted by social media, read by consumers, reposted by consumers with their input to another consumer, and so on. The result of this chain is that the news is much more interactive. One recent example of this is the Ebola conspiracy theories. Newspapers publish articles about Ebola, consumers share them and tack on their ideas about Ebola being a weapon created by the government or Big Pharma, and the newspapers publish articles about Ebola conspiracy theories. These articles are then subjected to the same chain of events as the original one, and so on. This form of interactive reporting entices consumers to read news that feels as though it isn't directly about them.
The evolution of the American newspaper has mimicked the evolution of American society. What started as a small distribution of information for the literate and privileged has become an open forum for everyday citizens who wish to be heard by all those whose opinions shape our society and culture.
Thank you for listening. We hope you found our vidcast to be informative.